Welcome back to Factorio Seablock, and I've solved my power problem, at least for now. I have some more steam engines here, well, two more, and the real problem with the power in the last episode, once I'd sorted everything out, was just sort of a throughput problem-ish, combined with just too much drain on the power. I didn't have enough fuel to supply the steam engines, and in turn, I was using too much electricity, so I had, burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. So I actually managed to clean up a fair amount. I managed to save 50 inserters out of the entire factory, and I've added about 38 back now that I've got more power. But that certainly helped because each one is going to has a drain. So even if it's doing nothing, it's draining 400 watts. So that's obviously 20 kilowatts when I remove 50 of them. So that's a pretty good optimization. And I've gone ahead and optimized a little bit more these farms. Now, just to go into that a little bit more, I've now got 14 of these things. Okay, so 2 rows of 7. And then there's a third row of 7 electrolyzers here. They're providing the crushed stone. They're going straight into a single chemical plant now. It's still fine. It's still not running at full speed. And this is still only a Mark 1. And the main shortage is really going to be when you're actually building this mineralized water. Adding more chemical plants doesn't help unless you have more supply of crushed stone. And it's just a huge supply shortage. And then you've got an issue with trying to feed all of these outputs onto a single, well, 2 belts in my case. So I built an extra couple on either side, and then just did a little bit of balancing and a little bit of sort of side loading here, and it all actually works out just fine. All of these should get rid of the product before the next product comes in through the bar. That may well not, yeah, there it goes, you see, it's able to get rid of it before it gets through. That may not hold true when we go up to Algae Farms Mark II, of course, so I may need to then rework things or go into red belts or something along those lines. But other than that, we're then feeding into, and this is still a same original set of 8 chemical plants producing all of this stuff. That's then going into now Mark II assemblers here. There's a couple that still haven't been upgraded, but I've put the rest into Mark IIs. And we're now getting a nice backlog of pellets. Yeah, pellets. That means everything is sort of stuffed here because these just are, well, it's not that these can't process fast enough. They certainly can. It's that we have too few furnaces for what we want to do with them. So what I think we need to do is have our furnaces moved over down here somewhere, something like that, and then have our bricks supplied onto a belt, and then they will get belted over to the furnaces, and they'll get, they'll get the charcoal back over here. So let's start off with that, shall we? Do I have enough furnaces? I want to duplicate this before I move anything because I've got a bit of a backlog, but I don't want to starve this box. They've got nearly nearly 400 now, and we've got 12 steam engines going with this, with a couple of chemical plants here. And I've set this splitter to prioritize for both of these, essentially. So this gets a chance first. It prioritizes left into this one. And if anything's left over, then it heads down this way. And generally what happens is this eventually runs out and I have to go and grab some from elsewhere. But that's fine. That's just our ore production down there. And that is being produced nicely. There's another 50 iron plate, another 21 copper plate. And we're currently researching at the very, very bottom left down there, solar energy. Solar energy should let us, at least during the day, because I don't think we have an accumulators yet to store it, at least during the day we'll be able to get a bit of a boost with any spare land that we do have, and use that to reduce the load on the steam engines, which will slow them down and increase the amount of charcoal, the amount of carbon that we have. So let's get the things sorted first with the furnaces. We're probably just going to be able to go on a straight line, I guess, just in your typical furnace fashion. But we are going to need to leave room for a power pole. And do I have enough for another couple of furnaces? Maybe not. We're going to be bringing our main line out this way. Yeah, that should be fine, I guess. And then just, whoops, not there. Nearly. There we go. There we go. And then we can just feed them back in. We have to be careful to refeed the furnaces, or to be able to refeed the furnaces with carbon, because they will need feeding. So we have to account for that. That will mean we have to do the same thing as over here. some way of reclaiming the carbon. It's much simpler, of course, once we have it like this, because then we can just do this sort of thing, and everything should work. So if we just have something like that, and then on this side we'll need 6 more inserters. Oh, we're out of basic circuit boards. I usually have a box there, but it's short on copper. Let's just put copper in up here. It'll make some more basic boards. And we've got some more electric circuits here. No longer have 5. I've got 28 of these things. And that's how I've got to these. And it's certainly how I've got to these as well. These are blue inserters. They will pull stuff really quickly out of the furnaces because they were backing up in the furnaces themselves without those. And I've also got them here doing this job. But bear in mind that if we look at the inserters, where are the inserters? There we go. So a regular inserter power consumption is 13 kilowatts when it's active. I think that is. But this one is 46 kilowatts. So it's more than 3 times. And yes, it's 3.7. So it's 3.5 times. So yeah, having this is just trying to keep this fed. If we were backing up here, we could also pull it this way and still keep it fed along the side, but we don't need to do that just yet. And yeah, we want to optimize this as much as possible, get as much carbon on this line. Literally early in the Seablock game, it's all about trying to optimize for power production, and then eventually land production, of course, which will help once we get to solar energy. So I just need a few more inserters, which means I need just those basic boards. Has it used all that copper already? Oh, it's probably converted them into... Has it converted them? No, I'm going to need more copper, aren't I? Hopefully more of it's done. Should be all the way down there somewhere. 21 copper. Let's just pop you in there as well. And I will just rotate you up. Almost rotate you. And just build up some more basic boards there. Ah, there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we can pull that stuff back in this way. I'm not sure about using electric ones though. You can technically use like the burner inserters. Oh, we need some copper cable for that as well. I'm out of copper. Let's just grab that again. Where's my copper? There you are. Just a few electric poles. Don't need very many. And then of course I've got to get more belt and just figure out to pass all of these bricks out and then the carbon back in again. So I'm going to hook up the carbon side first, and then we'll figure out the brick side of things shortly thereafter. So I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, yeah, let's just actually sort this out on camera. I just want to cut this off here first so that we have a backlog of carbon for the carbon dioxide while I start moving stuff. And then we can just take out these inserters. And take out these furnaces as well, and just get them all up and running. We can then just put everything onto a belt. I'll rearrange that in a second because it may need a bit of change. And then we can start taking this out while everything gets put into the furnaces. We're obviously going to need some carbon to start this up, so I will also need to just grab some carbon from somewhere. And just start the first furnaces. I've got some charcoal in my inventory. Yep, producing there. So if I just click and drag with the control key, we're going to get charcoal distributed. That's even distribution for you. It's very, very nice mod. And we can just take these out as well. Yeah, that should do. And then we can then bring it back this way. Oh, that actually looks much cleaner. Let's just get all of you sorted, and then everything can go back in place. What we are going to need to take a look at is how fast these unload. You see, they're all unloading to the same side of the belt at the moment, which is a bit of a problem. I almost want to do something with that around here. Should be straightforward, I guess. I can just do something like that. That will solve the problem. Yeah, that'll solve the problem. I'll do something better once we've got more of these furnaces. In fact, I've picked up a couple of furnaces. I'm almost also not happy about the fact I didn't leave a gap here for an extra power pole. but I'm going to cover that later. We'll figure that out another time. And what about these bricks? Are these being unloaded fast enough? Yeah, looks like they are. So that should mean that this backlog should go away, which it is. Good. And all these bricks are obviously making their way out, and everything's coming back through as carbon. So yeah, we seem to be okay. We are filling up the furnaces though, so we probably want a couple more just to serve, just in case. And then we probably want to move this balance thing down to here at least. And then we can have 1, 2, 3, 4, and a couple more. Oops. There we go. We're going to need some carbon, aren't we? Let's just grab some. And start everything up. There we go. So I think we've got everything we need there as far as the carbon's concerned now. Some of it's going to get grabbed by these. This is another thing that you'll find out when you're trying to build this whole system, that these will, or you'll run out of carbon dioxide and then your farms will stop. But you can see that rotation in the top left corner of each one indicates the farm's on and working. So we should be fine there. We've eliminated that bottleneck. And indeed, if we ever had too much here, we'll probably, you know, just increase these to fast inserters. We've actually saved 4 fast inserters here, so probably saved a little bit of power. Well, maybe not, because we've got extra yellow. But yeah, we'll maybe save power. We'll see. And everything should be back on. Okay, so now I just need to wait for solar energy to finish. I think that's stopped because we're out of red science. We are out of red science. And that's just simply because I've not been feeding it with iron and copper. Again, we're on this very temporary setup. I'm going to switch across from that to a proper one, but just not quite yet. What you'll see here is I've added extra crystallizers for the iron. So we're getting a lot more iron. Well, iron and copper, I should say. And I think that's probably starving it. Yeah, it's just starving of other ore types. But I think I've got extra of the other ore. Yeah, what are you? Are you short on slag slurry? Which means you're short of slag. Yeah, and that's because I took crystallizers out of here. I robbed Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, because I wanted more of them over here to feed our algae farms. So now I guess we could put another one back in if I have one. Do I have another? Not crystallizer, a electrolyzer. No, it's basic circuit boards and stone. Okay, well, I will sort that out a little bit later. It's just slowing down the ore production, that's the main thing, or the slag slurry production. And let's have a look down here. It's probably going to be one of these. Yeah, that's all fine, that's fine. It's basic circuit boards, yeah, which just needs copper at the other end. That's got plenty in the output. I don't need to fill that one up. I need to fill this one up. Yeah, so it's just basic circuit boards. And we're 2/3 of the way through. The solar energy one takes 250. It's very expensive, but it gets us to solar panels, which I really actually quite want. So 250 is fine. It's, you know, 3/4 of the way through. So maybe 75 red science needed to get. I will do that off camera, of course. I'm not going to watch me create those. I will come back once we've got solar energy. Okay, so we're down to the last couple of research points. Maybe this'll push it over. Yeah, it's nearly finished on that one. Looks like the very final one. So we're going to probably need to put some area down. And I'm going to put it up here. Each solar panel is going to give us 60 kilowatts at maximum, but of course only during the day. But that will help us out with lack of steam engines, or lack of steam engines needed. We are building up an excess here. Every so often I have to change this output from left to be just regular, i.e. just unmatched, just to let some through for our ore system to work. And there's solar energy. So now can we make solar? We can pocket craft it. That's good. It's going to take 14 electronic circuits each and 4 steel plate. So I'll make a couple of those. And for steel plates, again, just because we're very low on resources, we're a very early game, I've just put a furnace down and we're going to unload stuff like iron into it. It takes 8 iron to make 1 steel plate. So I put a couple of 100 iron in there, and that's producing enough steel plate for us to get going at least. And there's our 2 solar panels. Not very big, but they should at least give us some benefit during the day. Should I worry about a particular setup for these. I've only got 2 of them for the moment, so probably not. I can probably just put them here and here for now. That should do. And what's our power situation like? So we're still okay. And we'll see how that actually gets on as I produce more of these solar panels. Hopefully they are actually currently covered. Just to make sure, I will just put another one there. Something like that. We'll move them later, of course, once we get accumulators and get a decent setup. But for now, I think I'm going to concentrate on making a few more of those, just to reduce the stress on the rest of the system. And you'll see as it's coming daytime now, we're coming up to a couple of 100 kilowatts. That's nothing like the amount of power we're getting from our steam engines, of course, but that should be fine. What did they say? About 60 each, so that should get up to, there's 4 of them at the moment, should come up to 240, and that's peak. So obviously during the day, pretty good. That is, you know, obviously a quarter of a megawatt, so we need a lot more of them if we want this to help significantly, but every additional one we add will be that much less of a burden on our carbon system. So, and in the last episode, if you remember, we got fairly far down here on land and we got to a desert garden that was at the very bottom. So what I wanted to have a look at is what we actually need to process that. So a desert garden, we can make more of them once we have a desert farm upgrade, but oh, I need to actually go into the research screen. I can't click through. Desert farm upgrade. Farming, desert farm upgrade. As you can see, it requires, well, something we don't have: exploration tokens, biotech. We have these 2, but we don't have this, and that should let us essentially iterate through and craft more desert gardens to expand that out, but we can't do that yet, and fertilizer is not simple either. So what can we do? Let's take a look. What can we do with it? So that's the fertilizer recipe. Nothing we can do with that just yet. Page 1 of 4. So once we have garden processing, we can turn one desert garden into 16 tokens. And that will get us all of these seeds. Okay, fair enough. Well, that's desert farm upgrade as well. We won't have that yet. And garden processing, we can just turn it straight into tokens. But it looks like we're going to be going for this recipe. So what can we do with these? Nil aubergine? We can make nil aubergines, which can be turned into crystal dust, into raw vegetable oil, into nutrient pulp, into fuel oil, and often into... Okay, so this is one way towards oil and the various oil products that we're used to. Binifran is beans, nutrient pulp back into oil again. Are they all just oil? They may just be... Corn sounds like it's heading, well, fermentation based, but that's towards compost. Okay, so that's another one. Zella squash gets us cellulose fiber, so that might be a good byproduct. That's the desert farming thing. We can't do that just yet. So let's actually just get started with the, desert farming or whatever its prerequisites are. So let's have a look in that desert. We're going to need garden processing first, aren't we? Yeah, that's only going to take 50 yellows as well. So that will be just one good one to get started. And let's just see if there's any other garden, not the garden one, desert. Yeah, so tree arboretum is another one. Can we... Well, there's a few buildings we can actually create. We can get raw wood out of that, but that needs soil. Soil's actually a bit complicated. And the arboretum itself. Okay, so let me start this process up first. And what I may do, I'm probably going to have to get more of these labs. This isn't the tier 1 lab, of course. It's the tier 2 lab. So we need more electronic circuits, and that's pretty much it. So sort of half and half between electronic circuits for solar panels at the moment and electronic circuits for everything else. So we may have to leave that, and I'll just do it off camera. In either case, I'm just going to gather as much land as we can and start to expand out, hopefully for more solar panels, but they are quite expensive at the moment. They're going to need a fair amount of steel. So I'm just going to keep devoting my iron supply to make steel, copper, and circuits. And a brief note on power, just did a quick few sums. During the day, we've obviously got 300 kilowatts now. We've got 5 of these, so it's 60 kilowatts each. But if you divide it by 2, because we've got the night cycle as well, that's around 30 kilowatts sort of per unit, sort of over, you know, over a longer time. They're off half the time, on half the time. So I'll reduce it by 2, just to give it a fair sort of idea. The wind turbines, however, like where are we? Let's look at the power. Wind turbines, we've got 120 of them producing 1.3 megawatts. So let's just take a look at that. So that's 1300 kilowatts. And we'll divide that by 120. And that's 10.8 kilowatts each. So 3 times less. It's a bit variable. Sometimes it goes up to 1400 kilowatts. There we go, you see. But that only takes us up to 11 point something. So it's still 3 times less. I guess the question really is does this actually take up 3 times less room? Because remember, we've got to fit them around power poles. Now, that may become better later in the game. But right now, you know, even so, this doesn't take up 3 times the amount of room as this. So I think going with solar panels seems to be a fair trade-off as we actually go up. We could produce more wind turbines. There's no reason why we can't. It is a recipe. It just takes copper and steel, and of course we could make both of those. So yeah, we can put in more wind turbines, and that will certainly help at night time. So maybe worth balancing those as far as our renewable energy sources is concerned. But as you can see, it's now night time again, so down goes our solar production. However, that should mean during the day we get a little bit of a boost, and this should continue building up in terms of our well, in fact, yeah, here's the problem. I've decided to let some of this through, and that would normally reduce our sort of buffer of carbon. But at the moment, with the fact we're adding more solar panels, we should get to a situation where this will always remain full, and we're still okay with our carbon production as well. So we shouldn't ever get a problem with ore production, aside from when I forget to fuel the furnaces. There we go. And let's get some more steel, some more iron, some more copper, and garden processing is halfway through. Let's wait for that to finish. And with garden processing finished, we can also have a look at just those accumulators. I think it's electric... there they are, electric energy accumulators. Oh dear. To get the first accumulator, which needs batteries, we're going to have to go into detail on that. We have to go through battery, we're going to have to go through plastics, we're going to have to go through oil, and chemical plants. Actually, does that get me the... Actually, get me to a regular chemical plant. Now, let's go back there. Gas and oil extraction, that gets me a pump jack, oil and gas separator, and separates raw gas, crude oil, and sulfuric waste. We're definitely going to need that. But before we get there, we've got a couple of things. One is electric energy distribution, which should get us better poles. Yeah, it gets us the medium and large electric pole, but they both take steel. That's a slight downside. But we got blue algae before that. More importantly, in here is this, the Algae Farm Mark II. Needs clay bricks. We've got to figure out how to do that. I think that needs the washing plant Mark II, maybe, I want to say. But that will then get us, look at the crafting speed on this thing. It's 50% higher crafting speed, 1.5 that is, instead of 1 of Algae Farm Mark I. So if we want to really optimize the space, instead of crafting 50% more Mark Is, well, we can make an Algae Farm Mark II, and this is only 50 of each, rather than 250 for that massive solar panel one. So that seems like a decent thing to go for. What does clay brick need, however? Does that need anything other than our current setup that we've got here? Unburnt clay brick is the first one, which comes from clay and sand and lime. So concentrated mud water, I think we have. And we certainly have the technology for it. Sand, we have that. Lime, we have that. Comes from limestone. Yeah, is there any other way to get limestone? From lime? Yeah, light mud water, there we go. So we may need washing 2 to get that, however. So that's another one we're going to have to look at. Washing 2, and that's only 30. So we do get limestone from it. We can wash for geodes and a washing plant Mark II anyway. And that is all stuff we can make. So we're going to have to go for washing 2 first. Let's research that. And then we can go for the blue algae processing. which will get us access to the algae farms, which will then upgrade this whole setup. And then that's probably going to it's certainly going to overwhelm these two belts. It may even if I extend these two belts upwards, it may even cause problems with those, even with side loading tricks and other sort of approaches here. You'll see I'm merging everything back together here to trying to get some stuff to these two plants. But I expect this to get overwhelmed with green algae once we upgrade these plants, which is a good thing to have. But of course, that will then have knock-on effects. We can certainly, feed more stuff into these, upgrade these all to Mark IIs, but yeah, we'll see what we need to go through from there. So I think that's going to be next episode now. We are approaching time. I want to leave this episode a little bit short so I don't start something new like blue algae processing. I will do the research for it off camera, and then at the start of next episode we'll start with some upgrades, and I'll show you, well, how many solar panels do I have so far? Let's have to take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'll see how many I've made between the episodes. There's 9 at the moment. Maybe get about 30 or 40 of those going would be quite nice to have, and even some more steam engines in reserve, because at night time when this 540 kilowatts drops, we pretty much cap out what power we can produce at the moment. And in order to produce more ores, I'm going to need more electrolyzers, which needs more power because electrolyzers are 10 kilowatts drain. So yeah, and maybe that drain is when they're inactive, I assume. But these are active permanently, so that's no good. And then we need to perhaps sort out a proper ore production system. This is okay, but it doesn't get us ore very fast, and it certainly doesn't get us land very fast. I do keep on just grabbing this as much as I can and expanding our little, I was going to say little island, but it's expanding quite a bit now. It's looking pretty good. So yeah, if you've got any questions, comments, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you're doing this along with me, let me know how you're expanding. If you have any difficulties, do let me know. Otherwise, if you like the episode, feel free to like, subscribe, and share as normal, of course. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.